Hi everyone, Stepan here. Welcome to game 62, playing Dai Geang, waiting for round 3 to start at the World Championship. I have to say I'm really excited. I covered yesterday's game, game 2, and I'm hoping... Wow, the exchange again? Oh, I had a crushing loss against this in the last game. So, okay, I'm gonna play better. I'm not gonna lose to a quick kingside attack. I'm not too familiar with queen c2 in this position, I have to say. I don't think I've ever seen this. It does make sense. Okay. If I go bishop g4, then my opponent may be able to go h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, trade, and g5. But then again, if I go g6, I still don't have bishop f5, so I'm gonna go bishop g4. On queen b3, I'm just a tempo up on the normal variations, I guess. This is a very confusing move. My opponent has a provisional rating, although they joined 2 years ago, so okay. I guess they haven't played rapid up until now. I really don't know queen c2. This is good, because I have upcoming tournaments. So as I told you, I'm gonna be playing a tournament in Dubrovnik in Croatia starting December 5th, and I may play the Skopje Open, which starts 3 days after the tournament in Dubrovnik finishes. So... Okay, my opponent's playing f3 g4. I was expecting h3 g4. Wow. All right. I mean, I can still trade, so this isn't really such a big deal. So assume I can go e6. Very, very strange. So e6, h5, bishop d3, queen d3, bishop d6. Seems pleasant enough. I can also go queen c7. My opponent's playing a very, very risky game. Actually, let's go queen c7 first, because I want to prevent bishop f4 if my opponent hasn't played it up until now. And also if the bishop moves away for some reason, I also have knight b4 whenever I castle, so I'll be threatening to just win the bishop pair. Not now, because there's queen a4, but... Okay, prevents... Okay, now e6, bishop f4, bishop d6, makes sense. As soon as I castle, I'll have knight b4, or knight d4 if the knight moves. So I'm not too worried about what my opponent's doing, I have to say. I don't know which side I'm gonna castle, but I'm expecting queenside, because the kingside pawns seem kind of terrifying. Okay, now I have to trade. I want to play h6 to prevent an easy g5, because on f4 I'll have knight e4. But on h6 my opponent plays knight d2, preventing knight e4. So that means that my knight is likely gonna end up on d7 anyway. What's my opponent doing? This is very strange. I'm thinking about castling queenside and just playing for e5. I don't want to play e5 before I castle. But then again, if I do castle on e5, there may be queen f5. Okay, I'm castling queenside. I'm gonna allow g5 because it helps me support e5. And just like that, all of these kingside pawn moves by my opponent may have been in vain. Knight b5 is coming. Can we ignore that and go e5? e5, knight b5, queen d7. I don't want to go a6 because that creates a hook and helps my opponent play b4, b5. After knight b5, the queen goes to e7, most likely. So e5, b5, queen e7, e5, queen f5, queen b8, king b8. Seems okay. I'm playing e5. I'm not going to waste any time on moving my queen in anticipation of knight b5. Because now if my opponent doesn't react, then of course if they castle, e4 is coming, and e4 is going to be very scary for them to meet. And if they take, then I take with the knight, attacking the queen. Queen f5, king b8. There is no f4, because I take on g4. Yeah, the game yesterday between Ding and Gukesh was kind of, well, I was hoping for more. I was hoping for a fight from Ding, but it's understandable, I guess. And I'm really anxious to see what happens today in game 3. I'm guessing the game will have started already by the time you watch the game. Is this my opponent's first long think? I think it is. I want to get rid of the f-pawn so that I can play knight g4. I also want to play knight e4. And I want to play knight e5, if I can. Also, if I take on d4, there's no... Okay, there is cd4. Yeah, I don't want to take on d4. In yesterday's video, I noticed that there was some crackling or cracking. I don't know what the word is. Crackling is actually a food with my mic. So let me know if the sound is okay. I changed the cable. So if you can hear some weird cracking noises, let me know that I need to figure things out. I don't know if it's the desktop or the cable or the USB port or the mic itself. For now, I've changed the cable. My opponent went offline. I don't like that. I don't like that. Now they came back. Now they went offline. Why? Why? Just play the game. Don't answer calls. Your opponent left the game. Come on. Yeah, so I will be playing one tournament for sure, and most likely 2 in a row. And I'm very excited. I had a lot of stuff going on. I couldn't travel and play as many tournaments as I'd wanted to. So now I'm finally back to playing. And the first one starts in a week, in 8 days. So I'm very excited to play a lot of over-the-board chess. Okay, I was thinking... Queen e6. And then if d5, I have to play queen e5 because my a7 pawn is hanging. They went offline again? Come on. This is... I don't like this. I desperately want to go king b8. Okay, my opponent's on the a7 pawn twice. So I'm guessing I should go king b8 now. Unless I can take on d4. Wait, that position's actually interesting. So ed4, if queen d4, I take the queen. If knight d4, I win the queen. If queen e6, then f e6, and then knight d4 twice is possible. And I don't really have e5 because that gives away f5. So either play king b8 or I play e4. I like e4. e4, there may be knight f4. e4, knight f4. Queen e7. e4, knight f4, queen e7. I like e4 because any... Ooh, on knight f4 there's actually... g5 followed by knight takes d5 if I go knight d7, but I can go knight e8. The thing is, I'm giving away the f4 square anyway, as soon as my opponent takes on e5. So I may as well shut down the queen. So e4, knight f4, queen e7, g5, knight e8 seems forced. And then f e4, queen e4, queen e4, d e4. Is there d5? Yeah, there's d5. That's no good. I cannot go e4. So rook he8 instead of king b8. If d e5, then queen e5. If knight a7, queen a7, it's mate on e2. So I think I'm gonna do that instead of king b8. I don't like e4 because it gives away the f4 square prematurely. And if my opponent plays d and I play queen e5, then knight f4 isn't a tempo. Okay, g5. Okay, if I go knight d7, there may be knight d6 check in the end. So knight d7, d5, queen e5, queen e5, rook e5, knight d6 wins my f7 pawn. So I'm guessing I need to go knight g8. Probably have to go knight g8. Oh no, I can go knight d7. Knight d7, d5, knight d5. Yeah, I can go knight d7. Because I don't have to take with the queen now. I have the knight on on d7 to recapture, and my opponent cannot take twice on a7. This is getting very interesting. Why am I down on the clock? Okay, knight d5. Knight a7. Knight a7. Queen a7, knight f3. Loses. Okay, so that's okay. No, what was I thinking? I could... No, that's fine. Knight d6 would have won my d pawn. My f pawn. That's true. Okay, can I not play knight takes f3 now? Knight takes f3. If queen f3, then queen e2. And then if queen f7... Well, I don't know. Knight takes f3, queen takes f3, queen takes e2. There is no queen f7, because I can take on b5. And if queen f5 check, then queen e6. So knight f3, queen f3, queen e2. What can my opponent do? I don't know, so I'm gonna play knight f3. Why is my opponent offline? That's getting very frustrating. My opponent left the game. Why do you keep leaving the game? I don't think my opponent's cheating or anything. I'm just saying it's annoying to have people leave the game. Okay. So rook d5 isn't possible. Queen f7 isn't possible. Okay. Now I'm just up a pawn, am I not? Seems like it. Okay, let's go rook. Ah, if I go rook d7, there's rook f7, knight d6. Interesting. So let's go rook e7. I need to keep guarding the d6 square. I need to chase the knight away with a6 before I do anything else. That knight is really annoying. On rook d7, that would have been a nice tactic. Rook f7, knight d6. Okay. So let's chase the knight away and play d4. So a6. Am I missing something? I don't think so. If the knight goes to d4, then fine. My pawn isn't hanging. Okay. So would I mind my opponent taking on c6? I'm not sure. It does repair my pawn structure. On the other hand, where does the knight go? So if I go king c7, then let's say knight f3. This is very close to being equal. It could in fact be equal. I don't think I'm better at all. But I like the idea of playing king c7. And then trying to defend the d5 pawn with my king. Yeah, I'm gonna go king c7. Does my opponent have knight b3, knight c5? Probably. Yeah. Damn. So the alternative is knight d4, rook d4. Rook e d7, rook f4, rook f8, g6, hg6, hg6, f6. That seems better. I don't want to leave the knight on the board, because knight b3, knight c5 would have come, and in that case I don't really have a rook d7 anyway. So now rook f4, rook f8, g6, takes, f6. Or just rook d4 with a draw offer. Okay, I'm gonna keep playing. I mean, I have to give the pawn away. I don't really have much choice. I'm not gonna go for a draw. I don't care. I'm gonna keep playing. So now f5, gf6, rook f6 seems okay. Wow, my opponent didn't take. That's interesting. Okay, let's improve the king. Okay, let's go g6. I'm afraid to leave these two squares unattended, but if my opponent goes h6, I'm going rook e8, preventing his king from approaching. My opponent has to go king e3 now. But then I may have rook e8 followed by rook e4 and rounding up this pawn this way. I do have a protected passed pawn and my opponent doesn't have a passed pawn. So now rook e8, let's say king f3, rook e4. That seems okay. I'm sure this is equal, but I feel like I'm the one playing for a win. So rook e4, rook d8, rook g4. Yeah, that should win a pawn. Am I not winning a pawn here? This could now be close to winning, because I have two connected passed pawns, and my king is perfectly placed to play against my opponent's pawns, and I have zero weaknesses, because my rook holds the g pawn and my king holds the b pawn. Also, my opponent's queenside pawns are fairly tender, due to the king being on the f file. I don't know what to suggest for white. My king is cut off and that's not good, but if white tries to make any sort of progress, my king isn't going to be cut off anymore. And if the g pawn ever moves... Okay, so let's just take. Now my king is only cut off vertically, not horizontally. Okay, I want to prevent king f4, so I'm gonna go rook g4. I don't want the king to advance, if I can prevent it. So now I'm hoping to put a pawn on g5. So if I go g4, and my opponent doesn't do anything, then I'm gonna take once and start advancing my king. But I'm gonna go, sorry, not g4, b5. But I'm gonna go b6 first. And I'm gonna try to play it slow. I'm gonna try to infiltrate with my king on the dark squares. I wanna go a5 instead of b5, and then king c5. Or b5. I don't know, a5 or b5. So the plans are either b5 or king c5. Okay, so obviously b5 isn't that good anymore. But I could play rook d4 here. My opponent has just given me a way out. I could go rook d4, followed by rook d6. And all the king and pawn endgames are winning, so my opponent can never play king f4 and king g5. So rook d4, something, rook d6. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna do that. Because this way my pawns are safe, and I can get my king into the position without losing any of them. This is a much safer defense with the rook. The king and pawn endgames are hopeless for my opponent. He can never trade. Okay. So now what? I don't have b5 because of c5. And on rook f6 there's king f4. But I could go king d7 and on king f4 rook d2. Huh, that's interesting. I need to go the other way around. I just cannot allow rook e6 check. Now that's been prevented. Okay, I was gonna go rook d2, so let's go rook d2. If h3 or h4, I go rook d3. How does my opponent actually save the b pawn? I don't see it. Maybe c5? But I can take and take. No, this seems losing now. Although I am down to 1 minute. Yeah, I'm gonna have to speed up. I'll stop talking. If my opponent goes king f4, I think it's over, because I check, and on king f... Oh, if my opponent goes king g5, then rook g2 check, king f6, f4. That seems over. Rook d5 loses, of course. I just take. The king and pawn endgames are hopeless. Okay, so rook d3. Again, rook trades with something like rook e3 are losing, so that doesn't work. Okay, now this is just check. Am I not just winning? Okay, this should be winning. My king is too close to the queenside pawns. This has to be busted for my opponent. Yeah, this is just two connected pawns up, two connected passed pawns up. I'm down to a minute so I can mess it up, but I really shouldn't. I don't even see any sensible moves for my opponent. Let's just move the king up, I guess. Yeah, okay, this was dumb. Okay, so I trade. I take on a4, my opponent takes on g6, I go f4, and then that's winning. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, okay, this is fine. Now let's just push the pawn. My opponent's king is completely cut off, so yeah, there's no hope here. No hope. Okay, come on. Now I'll watch round 3 of the World Championship happy. I don't know why my opponent isn't resigning. This is, I mean, what do you even do? It seems unlikely that I can mess this up, especially since I have a passed pawn on the b file. My opponent's king is on f5. And I can always play rook c4 to prevent the king from helping catch the b pawn. I played b5 instead of king c5 because I don't want my king cut off. On rook c3 check, I want to be able to go rook c4. Yeah, who do you think is going to win round 3? I mean, I'm very excited to see what happens in today's game. Rook c3, rook c4, rook c4, bc4, king f4, there's king d4, and I just queen my c pawn, of course. So that's not possible. And yeah, I'll just go rook c4, b4, rook c3, and queen my pawn. I don't know what my opponent should do. I think they should resign, but that's their business. And I'm out of coffee, which is okay, because the game's almost over. And it's 10:04, so round 3 has started. Come on, come on. Okay, so rook c4. My opponent can never take. A rook trade is hopeless, it's over. The reason I played rook c4 first is so that I can push my b pawn without losing my f pawn without a rook trade, which may be winning, but there's no need for that. Trading rooks is winning for sure. Okay, so let's improve the king. I'm gonna have to go king a4. Oh, but there could be king d5. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, okay, I cannot allow king d5. I have to repeat. And on rook a3, b5, rook a5, I go king c6. Oh, okay. I still go king c6. So b5, rook d5, king c6. I don't know what my opponent does next. But I'm playing b5. b6, rook, b3, rook b8, rook b4. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, now it's over. Whew, okay. So b3, rook b8, rook b4, rook c8, king b5, king d5, b2, and I'm queening. I don't think there's anything my opponent can try now other than rook b8, because on rook anywhere else I can just, yeah. Now I'm just queening. I mean, There isn't even anything my opponent can try. Yeah. All right. Let's block, I guess. So now there are no more checks. I'm gonna queen both pawns. It's weird that my opponent isn't giving up. I mean, they are 2300. Okay. I want to block the check so that I can queen my pawn without any interference. Yeah. Okay. Whew, nice. Let's analyze. I mean, my opponent missed queen f3, which they shouldn't have missed. And then they also played this weird advance. Or first they played queen c2, which is a move I don't know at all. Yeah. Queen c2 has never been played. So the point is to prevent g6 bishop f5 and to not lose a tempo to bishop g4. I don't know, but the line goes bishop f4, bishop g4, queen b3, and then you gain a tempo on the b pawn. So bishop g4 is fine. e5 is the best move. Okay. So let's see. f3 here, here, here. Yeah, my opponent's already better. I'm already better. I played queen c7 to prevent bishop f4. e5 again instead of e6. It actually makes perfect sense. Why didn't I go e5? Okay, e6 is okay. Ooh, knight takes d4. Oh, there's knight takes d4. I missed it, so it's equal. I castled queens. Whoa. I castled queenside. Here. e5 is okay. h6 would have been better. Queen d7, queen e6. Okay, queen d7 is the best move. I played queen e6. So yeah, I was considering e4, but on knight f4 I think my opponent's better. It's actually equal. Okay, but after g5 the same thing is worse for me. Okay, so I played rook h8, which is the best move. Good. My opponent played g5. Oh, I could have gone a6. Takes. Queen e5 is minus 1.4? What? So let's see. Queen takes, knight takes. Let's say king f2. Oh, this is crushing. Okay, knight f3 is the best move, and my opponent had to go for this. And yeah, now it's just equal. This is the trick my opponent has been setting up. Just rook f7, knight d6. So I played rook e7, here, here, here. Oh, maybe I could have saved the pawn with knight e5. I was afraid of knight b3 in that case. And knight c5, but I guess it doesn't work. Yeah, okay. So knight d4, I took on d4, takes. Here, here. Yeah, I have to give the pawn away, obviously. f5 seems okay. And I think my opponent should have taken. I mean, now I have a protected passed pawn. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to queen that pawn with correct play. But it's still a passed pawn. And if my opponent had played h6, I would have played rook e8, cutting off the king. And now that's an advantage. A practical advantage. hg, hg. has to approach with the king. Fine. Here, here, here. Yeah. Once I win this pawn, it seems to be close to over. And after rook g8, it is winning. Okay, so here, here, here. Yeah. Rook d4 was good. Yes, because I can cover with rook d6. King d7, best move. Yes! I understand something about endgames. Yeah, and after rook d2, I'm just picking up all the pawns. Doesn't really matter. So here, 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 here. Yeah. Now it's fairly trivial. I just have to be careful not to lose any of my pawns. Yeah. Okay, and after this I'm just queening. Good. My opponent had 92% accuracy. I had 95. That seems unlikely. I missed a nice tactic. I played e6 instead of e5. No way. And my opponent had 92 and they lost the pawn and they lost the game. That seems weird. Anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.